So Janek here, he is being tough, you know, boxing against this tree, and he thinks he's winning, but actually he's not. Anyways, he kind of reminded me on Rocky, you know that guy? So I came up with the best solution to visualize that and kind of let him flow in the air and make a 3D transition towards a rock. So let's see how we can do this inside Premiere Pro, and we've made a pretty cool workflow that also allows Premiere Pro CS6 users to follow along. What's up guys, Jordy here for Cinecom.net, and again, welcome to an exciting Premiere Pro tutorial. This time we're going to let Janek here flow into the air, because what we're going to do is cut him out and set him loose from the background, kind of let him just flow there. And there are a couple of cool things we can do by setting the elements loose from each other, but we'll get into that in just a moment. And now we're going to create this very simple transition to a second image. In this case, it's a rock. So let's get started with that, guys. I'm going to create a new sequence, and let's just name that Janek Boxing. Press OK, and I'm going to drag in the boxer clip, which is Janek, into my timeline, and we're going to look for a certain point where like Janek and the tree are kind of loose from each other, so that we have like a clear point on where we can kind of cut them out. Let's take this one here. It's a little bit different as that we had before. So at this point right here, what I'm actually going to do is grab a frame from it. So I'm going to press here on this button, export frame, click on that, and we're going to export that to, let me just see here on my desktop, the 3D zoom transition. So let me just export it to here, select that folder, and give that any name that you want. For example, the boxing frame. And then just press, oh no, for the format, let's just pick JPEG. If you want a better quality, you can go for TIFF, but JPEG is good for this tutorial. And I'm going to press OK. So it's inside that folder now. Let me just open that up. It's right here. And over there, we have that boxing frame. The next thing that you want to do is open up Photoshop. And this is also the reason why CS6 users can follow along, because inside Premiere, we can actually create masks, but it was introduced until, I believe, 2013, Creative Cloud, I'm not sure. Anyways, we're going to use Photoshop. It's also going to be a lot more convenient to work with this here. So I'm going to drag in just that JPEG file into Photoshop. And just going to double click here on this layer and press OK so that it's kind of unlocked. Now what I want to do is create 3 copies of this layer, because we're going to set each element into a separate layer. So what I'm going to do is just select that layer and press Ctrl J or Command J for the Mac users, and that will make a duplication of that. And we can do that again to have like 3 copies of that. If you like so, you can give those layers a name as well by just double clicking on the name. For example, this is the background. Then we have, this will be Janek himself, the boxer, and then we have the tree on the right side. So this is the tree, like that. So let's start by just disabling the top 2 layers and focus solely here on the background. We want to make sure that all the 2 elements are gone and that we only have the background. And what I'm going to do for that is kind of go to my lasso tool here on the top in my toolbox, click on that, and I'm just going to draw like a very quick selection around Janek. So let's do that, and it can be pretty rough, but do try to stick as close as possible to Janek. There we go. And if you accidentally touched or went into the subject, then you can always like hold down your shift key now. You'll see this little plus icon here next to my lasso tool, and just kind of create these arcs here to expand that selection. So once you have your selection around Janek, you want to go over to the edit on top here, and we're going to select fill. And from the fill, we're going to select content aware for the contents, and then just press OK. And if everything goes well, Janek is gone. It's like that simple. And then we're going to do the exact same thing for the tree as well, and we can just take the rectangle tool for that, just something like that. It can be very rough, perhaps here on the side. You can also press, by the way, the Alt key instead of the plus key, and that will kind of remove something of the selection if you're going to like cut into the other side. So perhaps we can do like a bit off from here. All right, let's just try it out and see how it goes. I'm going to go again to edit, say fill, and press OK, and the tree should be gone. So that's the background, looks good. Now we're going to focus on Janik himself. And for Janik, we're going to use a different tool. That is going to be the magnetic lasso tool. Just click on this tool here, hold down your mouse click, and that will reveal some more tools. Take that magneto tool thing, and we are really going to like focus on the edges here. So start from the bottom and just go over with your mouse. You only have to click like once, and Photoshop will create these points themselves. It's going to look for contrast. Now don't worry, as again, if your mask goes wrong somewhere, you can always like fix that afterwards, like I've shown by just holding down the Alt key and such. So let's just continue doing this. Something like this looks pretty awesome. Now in the middle here, we also have this gap. So what I'm going to do is hold down the Alt key so that I have this minus so that I can create like a selection inside a selection. So let's do that. Make sure that you're holding down that Alt key. Very important. Close that. There we go. And now we're going to like fine tune this mask because it's pretty important that we do so. And we can do that from the button down below here. Below our layers, you'll see this create mask button or add layer mask. Make sure that that layer is selected as well. And click on that, and now it will create a mask from your selection. And if we are going to like disable the background below, you will see how it looks. Now we can like fine tune this mask, and that's something pretty cool. Just click on that, and here on top you will see a possibility that says select and mask. Click on it, it will give you some different options, but pretty cool. Here's on the side, we have some more options to fine tune and tweak this mask a bit. I'm going to start with just the normal brush tool, because here on the bottom, for example, I see that we have to like clean that up a bit. Right click in your image anywhere and just increase the size of that brush if you want so. And now we can kind of work a bit faster. Something like that. And there was this little point here with this gloves that were going a little bit wrong. We can zoom in as well, by the way. Just hold down your Control key or Command key on the Mac and just press the plus key on your keyboard to zoom in. And let me just also use that mask tool here. Just kind of click a few times. And you can click outside that subject if you want so, because you can always like remove that again by just holding down your Alt key. So this is pretty cool. You can like paint stuff and then remove that again. And perhaps you might want to change your size a bit for this, also the hardness perhaps, so that you will have like a kind of a softer edge to it for the harder parts. All right, I'm just going to go quickly over this. Something like this is okay, perhaps like here at that glove again. All right, so this is good. We're going to leave it with this. So one thing I do want to show you guys is how to clean up hair inside Photoshop, because that is something which is definitely not easy. But Photoshop has this hair tool here on the top. And this works exactly the same. What you kind of want to do is just like draw around the edge of his hair, and it will kind of look for those specific details. Let's see how that looks. This is already starting to look a lot better. So this looks pretty awesome now. Let's zoom out and see how it looks. Janik is keyed out. I'm pretty satisfied with this. Let's just press OK now. Janik is isolated. Now let's focus on the tree. That's the last layer right here. And we're just going to do the exact same thing with the magneto tool here. Just start from the bottom and then just go straight up like that. Make sure to follow the tree well. And let me just like do this quickly here. For the edges here, I'm just going to use the rectangle selection tool on top and quickly hold down my Shift key again so that I can expand my selection like that. So that I have the bottom with me. And there's one last thing here on the top. Let's just do this very quickly, guys. There we go. Create a mask for that by pressing on this button here again, with having your selection and your layer selected as well. There we go. And again, if you want, you can go back into the select and mask and kind of fine tune in there. But we're satisfied for now for this tutorial. We've got our tree layer, so all the tree elements now are separate. And this is perfect. We can now work further on this inside Adobe Premiere Pro. So what I'm going to do is just press Ctrl S to save this, and we're going to save this as a Photoshop file. So just leave this at boxing frame, press save, yes, maximize compatibility, then go back into Premiere Pro, and we want to import that Photoshop file in here as well. So it's right here, the boxing frame, drag that into your project panel, and here on my other screen, it will ask you how you would like to import that Photoshop file. And instead of saying merge all layers, we're going to say individual layers, because we're going to need those layers individually to work on them. Press OK, and they're now here inside this folder, and it just works as a normal image. So we're going to start with the background here and make sure that you're going to align this with your playhead because it was that frame that we took. So first the background, then the tree or Janek, doesn't matter. There we go. So now if we are going to play this, it will like go back to that still frame, but we have these layers all separate, as you can see when I'm disabling and enabling these layers. All right, guys, let's take a very quick break to thank the sponsor of this video. Nothing beats a traditional film grain aesthetic. So if you shot a project on video but wanted to give that true cinematic look, check out these incredible grain overlays by Rocket Stock. Captured using real film stock including Eastman XX and Kodak Vision 3. This collection will make your project look like it was tailor-made for the silver screen. Link is in the description below, or just pay a visit to rocketstock.com for more details. So now we can start with animating these layers, and that's pretty cool. Head over to the effects controls and we're going to search for the transform effect. And that allows us also to create some motion blur to make the animations look more realistic. Where is that thing? Transform underneath the distort folder. So drag that transform effect to, let's start with the background. Make sure that you are in the beginning of that layer, and I'm going to create a keyframe for the scale. Make sure that's the scale of that transform effect. Then head a bit further in time and let's scale that to something around 105 or 103, not too much. Now the background is just going to be like very subtle. And then on the final end here, we're going to do like a smash zoom. So let's go like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames forward. You can do that with the arrow keys on your keyboard. And we're going to zoom this to the maximum, which is 300. So then we have like a sudden zoom, bang. And if you've been following me for a longer time on YouTube, you know that's how important I find it to create smooth keyframes. So that your animation doesn't start so instant, but smoothly starts gently, like it's accelerating. So we're going to like right click on that keyframe here and just say ease out. And that will make sure that it slowly starts and zooms in fast. And this will look a lot better. All right, let's head over to the next layer here, Janek. Let's start from the beginning again. And also here, I'm going to drag that transform effect to it. And I'm going to animate the scale as well, 100. And we want to be like on the exact same position as with the background animation. So I'm going to select that layer again and just scrub to that keyframe. But if you hold down your shift key, you'll kind of snap to those keyframes. So that way you're sure that you are on that exact same position. So back to that Janek layer here, and let's increase that scale as well. Perhaps we can scale this a bit bigger like so. And we're also going to animate the position and perhaps also the rotation. Looks pretty cool. And we are creating now keyframes for the beginning state. So you want to make sure to move these keyframes to the beginning, because this was a default position and rotation. And now that we are on the ending position, we can change that. So let's change the position of that layer a bit more to the left and perhaps also rotate Janek a bit, something like that. And then again, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames forward. And what we want to do now is also here, zoom Janek in to 300% and perhaps also change his position a bit more to the left side, something like that. Then stand back on that second keyframe here, hold down your shift key, select the last layer, also here transform on that layer, the tree, create a keyframe for the scale, and we're going to move that again to the beginning because this is the first keyframe. And then for the second keyframe, just kind of increase that scale a tiny bit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames forward, and now just kind of like boom the scale. There we go. So now we have like this awesome floating effect. And then we have this massive zoom. Now for the beginning, guys, because this is also going to start pretty instant here, that flowing effect. Also here, we can create those nice smooth keyframes. Right click on that keyframe here and say ease out. And the reason for it being is because the animation goes out of this keyframe because time goes from left to right. So if you would like to like stop your animation smoothly, then you have to select ease in. So if that would have been like this keyframe here. So for this first keyframe, we're going to select ease out. And for this one here as well, we're going to say ease out too, because we don't need the animation to slowly stop. No, we just want to like slowly start it only. And for the last keyframe, we're going to cut here anyways, so you can leave this at a linear keyframe, or else your animation will also like slowly stop, while in reality, we just kind of want to have the elements like to like shoot away in this 3D space, or kind of 3D space. So everything should look Good. Now this is for the tree. Okay, let's do the same thing for Janik as well here. Select the first keyframes, right click, and say temporal interpolation, and then say ease out, as that's the starting animation. And then for these second keyframes here as well, right click and also say here ease out. And for the last one as well here, ease out. All right, we're going to cut these layers at this point here at the final keyframe. So just select all of them and just trim them like this towards that point. And what we want to do now is introduce some motion blur here. So from that transform effect, and we're going to do that for all three layers, we're going to deselect use compositions shutter angle, and we're going to set that to something, we could set this at 180 degree, which is like a normal motion blur, but we're going to set this to 270 or something, which is going to introduce more motion blur, because we really want this to like blur out big time, so that we have like that zoom effect, so that that zoom effect even looks a lot better. So once you've set all of that, you will see that here during that zoom, we'll have that motion blur going on. Now guys, pretty cool about these layers as well is because you have these layers available. You can also work with like text behind Janik if you want. So just like move these two layers up and put a text layer here in between. And you can have something that goes behind him or something like that. So that is the cool thing about having these layers separately. All right, so we'll already have like the floating effect now. This looks pretty awesome. And then it zooms in massively, and we're going to go to this rock right here, guys. What I'm going to do here is also add that transform effect to the rock, and I'm just going to do the exact same thing here with the scale. Let's just take like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 frames forward. The scale is going to be 100 at the ending, and it's going to be, let's say 20 or something in the beginning, so that we have something like that. Now what I'm going to do is kind of align this clip here with the animation that we've done prior. Now we've always worked with the fast zoom that was 5 frames. So I'm going to select this rock clip right here and also move this 5 frames to the left. Hold down your Alt key while you have that layer selected, and then just press the arrow key to the left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And now on the ending of that animation, you also have this here at full screen. So in between now, we kind of have this here. The background just kind of goes away, and then we have the rock clip coming in. So this is pretty cool, but we're going to like make a better transition out of this. And we can easily do that by just right-clicking in between these two and say apply default transition. And also here for that transition, we're going to like trim this so that it aligns up somehow with the ending of that animation. Something like this. So now that background will kind of dissolve into each other into something like this. And like we've done with the other layers as well, you want to make sure that we have that motion blur. So select the rock layer and set the shutter angle to 270, for example. And now that animation should look better as well. There's one last thing that we want to do, guys. It already looks pretty awesome. Oh, by the way, if you would like to bounce this clip, you can do so. Instead of 100% here at the 5th frame of the rock clip, we're going to set this to, let's say, 110%. Then go a couple of frames forward, like 3 frames. Set this to 100 again. 1, 2, 3, 4 frames forward again. And then let's set this to, I don't know, 105 or something. And now you'll have like this very small bouncing effect. If it will render out, yeah, like this. This kind of emphasizes that fast 3D zoom effect. So like I was saying, there's one last thing that we want to do, and that's like during this floating effect, we kind of want to pull the attention towards Janik, and to do that, we're going to create this vignetting here only in the background. And you can either do that through the color tab here on top with Lumetri, because it has this vignetting functionality built in, but if you're working on something like CS6 or a version that didn't have Lumetri yet, then you can go into the effects controls here and just search for circle. Drag that onto that background, and we're going to change several settings in here. For the blending mode, we're going to say stencil alpha, and then just increase that radius big time, like so. And then of course you want to increase the feather here. Just open that property up and increase that feather. And now we kind of have that vignetting thing going on, and it will pull more attention towards Janik because of these darker edges here. So also this, we're going to animate it as well. We're going to start with the radius here, like something ridiculously high so that we don't see the vignetting. Create a keyframe for that, and then just go to the ending of the animation, or like the second keyframe, not like the entire ending. And then just kind of decrease that radius something like this. And now you will also see that the vignetting will kind of be animated towards Janik as it's playing like so, and then it will kind of like zoom in and go to that rock. Now, something here that is occurring is that you will see that we're kind of going to a black background, and that's because we are using this transform effect to do the scaling and such with. And in order to fix that, you only have to like drag the circle effect above the transform effect. So now we are kind of saying, first do your vignetting, and then do the transform as well on that vignetting or the circle effect. And now everything will look a lot better. So it's very important sometimes the order of your effects. If you can get something to work, then try to play around with those things. In most cases, it will also fix your issue. And let's have a look at the final effect now. Janik is boxing, and here he kind of flows into the air and then zooms in to the rock. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching again. You can download this project file entirely for free from our website so that you can play around and practice these techniques as well. Make sure to subscribe to this channel if you liked what you've just seen, because we are putting out multiple videos like these every week. Thank you so much again for watching, and always remember, stay creative.